Strong people have become strong leaders that then their companies, their cultures. And so we look at that with fascination and wonder where we fit into that. And so when we have, it's interesting, when you look at the cycle, you have strong leaders, and then after that sometimes comes really good times. Think of our culture recently. We went through the Second World War. It was a tough time. We came out of it. We had good times. People wanted a good life, and we had it. The problem is you go from that, and good times often create weak people. Why? Because they haven't had the struggle. They haven't had the challenges, the personal challenges that really make them dig deep down and find who they are, what their values are. Moral perspectives begin to deteriorate because does it really matter? We're having a good time. Life is good. I'm making money. Things are good. And so we begin to see a weakness. There's cracks that begin to show. And then from there, we go into weak times. There's a concern about what's going to happen. And so if you look at today, you listen to people like Ray Dalio, who's predicting a major economic downturn, and there are others that join in that and are predicting the same thing. So we've gone from strong leadership to good times to weak leaders to not weak and not such good times. You know what's interesting is we see the same pattern that's happened in countries over and over again. And if you look at what happened in India and you go way back in India's history, it's one of the 3 oldest cultures that has existed. You see change. Good times don't last very long, maybe 80 to 100 years. Somebody comes in, takes over, develops a kingdom. That works for a while. There's good times, and then a new leader comes in, wipes that out, and a new structure of strong leaders, good times, moving to weakness, and then being taken over by another group of people. We see the same thing beginning to happen in business, don't we? Take a look at what's happening right now. If you go back, some of our easiest examples might be Kodak, Eastman, right? We talk about that. It gets referred to often in literature because they had the opportunity to develop the digital camera and they wanted to hang on to the film, and they became obsolete. Strong leadership, strong company, great times. They were doing very well. Moved to making poor decisions, and then they were soon gobbled up and disappeared. We see that with many other companies. Take, for example, Nokia, BlackBerry. Remember these companies? More recently, look at Sears. Today, JCPenney's is struggling. They're struggling with who are they going to be? They've had good times. They were dominant in the market. Now leadership has shifted, and there's a weakness that's emerged, and they're not doing so well. Again, we see that with Polaroid. They have become a thing of the past, haven't they, as we've had digital pictures and pictures that we can take on phones now. We've seen Radio Shack come and go, and the list goes on and on. There's a lot of examples of this. So the question is, what is it that we want? If we want strong leadership and then good times, how do we keep those good times from causing us to evolve into weak leaders?
You don't have time for a weak leader.
Well, part of it is to really know who we are, know what our purpose is, know what our mission is. But it's a value system. It's not an erosion of values. It's not my thinking is the most important and the only way, because once we think that way, we have begun to become authoritarian. We see authoritarian leadership generally evolving and moving into a less effective type of leadership. where egalitarian perhaps begins to dominate and a more liberal type of thinking begins to dominate. And with that, it's sort of like, you know what? It's all working. Life is good. Let's all do what we want to do.
We want to be free to do what we want to do.
We see that right now, I think, in many ways, the struggle between what's our identity in the company? What is it that we want to be? What do we want to allow? The hybrid model has required us to think that through. We have people asking for a certain thing. We have companies saying they need this kind of work environment, and we're at odds. We have employees not trusting their leadership. We have a lot of things going on. Gen Z, they're the quiet quitters, 82%. So when we have this tension, we have the problem is we can move from our good times, strong leadership, good times, into weaker leadership. And with that weaker leadership, then we move into hard times. We face the danger of being acquired, disappearing quietly, and not being heard. We do have choices as to how it is that we're going to choose to be. And if we see ourselves moving in, as Ray Dalio suggests we are, into hard times, isn't it time we take a look at? Is it such good times that has produced perhaps weak people, weak leadership that doesn't really know how to keep a perspective for strife? What is it that really allows us to be strong? Well, part of it is really knowing what you want to lead, allowing perspectives, but also being true to a perspective of values. Not all values are equal, perhaps, and at least we need to have discussions about them, don't we? And if we don't, and we rule out that thinking and don't allow people to express themselves, pretty soon we become weaker and weaker because we don't have any dissenting opinions, we have no creative thinking, and innovation begins to decline. We have really many challenges ahead of us, and if we're facing economic downturn, it is really important that all of us within our businesses begin to think about, what is it that we're doing with leadership? Are we weak? Are we strong? Are we coming out of good times? And is that leading to weak and hard times? It's our opportunity to think this through and to look at, can we do it differently? Visit our website at www.startwithcollaboration.com. We're eager to help you with the challenges that you face today. There are many, and although there's challenges, there are opportunities. It's knowing how to look for them.